What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Pillars Unpacked. Thanks so much for tuning in and for watching this video. As you saw from the short intro, today's video is going to be focused on Aruba. Aruba is a small island located in the south of the Caribbean. It's very, very close to South America. I had the opportunity to go recently. It's an amazing island. It's beautiful, amazing beaches, and there's a lot of local history, some of which we will focus on today. This will be the first of two videos featuring churches in Aruba. I didn't have time to record my discussion portions of the videos while I was there, so I'm recording these back at home and just pretending and wishing that I was still in Aruba. But today's video is going to feature on the Alto Vista Chapel, which is in a portion of Aruba called Noord. It's N-O-O-R-D. This is one of the most visited tourist sites on the island, and I think the unique history, along with just the unique nature of the chapel itself, makes it worth visiting. The roots of Christianity as a whole, and specifically Catholicism in Aruba, go back to this very spot of the original chapel, which was originally built and established in 1750. The chapel was built by a Venezuelan missionary with his own funds. And Venezuela, as I mentioned at the beginning, is located very, very close to the island. It's like less than 20 miles away. So it makes sense that committed missionaries from the larger countries on the mainland would try to evangelize in other places nearby. For my American audience, just try to think through how old 1750 is. This is even pre-American Revolution, even earlier than some of its major antecedents like the French and Indian War or the Stamp Act. So just to give some perspective on really how far back the local history of this chapel goes. The chapel itself, when it was originally constructed, and today is sitting on an elevated hillside, and it has views of the surrounding desert landscape, and you can see the ocean from beyond. The name Alto Vista literally means high view, so the location was picked for that specific reason geographically, and people came to live around it, especially the original priest of the chapel, which was the initial missionary, and then his son that took over afterwards. The initial chapel was first built with stone walls and straw roof, so very, very simple materials that was built with. The story goes that a plague struck the surrounding villages really hard, and the community around the chapel became more and more sparse as time went, as people left for other parts of the island. And beginning in 1816, the chapel was completely deserted, and over time, the original structure fell into ruins. And that was the case until about 1950, when a local woman was walking amongst the ruins and had an idea to revive the history of Catholicism in Aruba, and specifically this chapel that used to be there. So she helped raise funds from local Arubans, and with the permission of the bishop in Curacao, the church was rebuilt and rededicated in 1952. So that's going to be the present structure that you'll see in today's video. It does still operate as a chapel in the Catholic Church, and it shares services and functions with the church that will be featured on next week's video. So please stay tuned for that. And the church as it stands now, or the chapel as it stands now, was constructed in exactly the same place and with the same orientation as the original chapel. So I love that they kept that tradition going, and that it literally is situated in the exact same spot where the original was. And according to a local guide that I spoke to, the only piece of the chapel that currently is original to the first chapel is the cross that's at the top of the steeple. So I think there's some amazing local history there. So let's go check out the chapel, and then stay tuned after for my thoughts and for some additional insight. Hope you guys enjoyed getting to see this chapel and the surrounding landscape. I think this was such a cool place to visit. I tried to give a lot of videos that really showed you that perspective of kind of where the chapel sits in the landscape and how it overlooks the ocean. I actually did not know that the walking labyrinth was there, so I like that looking back across it, you could get that really cool kind of vista of the desert landscape and then kind of the sea beyond it. A lot of times when we cover cathedrals and churches, we focus on how grand, how ornate the spaces are. This one, I think it's cool. It's the exact opposite. It's very small, it's very simple, and sometimes the beauty is in the simplicity. So I very much enjoyed that about it. I liked the just stark yellow color of the exterior and how that kind of stands out from the bright blue sky, especially on a clear day, like when I was able to visit the chapel. And again, the interior, again, very simple with just some basic rows of pews. The statue of Mary, I liked how it had just kind of like the floral designs and again, the bright blue colors that kind of gave it some pop against the wooden pews there. There is a local story as well that the local woman in around 1950, when she was collecting funds, she had a statue constructed that was very elegant and ornate of St. Mary, because when the chapel was initially dedicated, the patron saint was Mary, the mother of Jesus. That original statue was unfortunately vandalized and was destroyed. So this one is just kind of like a more simplistic replica, if you will, of what used to be there. And there's also the kind of stone marking underneath the altar and that statue of Mary that has some of the dates that we discussed. So you'll see 1952, which is when this chapel was dedicated. On the exterior, in addition to the walking labyrinth that we showed briefly, there's now stone benches that kind of go in a semicircular angle around the chapel. So that's just for when there's a larger number of worshipers that can't actually fit all inside of the chapel itself because it is quite small. There's room to accommodate additional people there. The chapel itself is it's 50 feet long by like 15 feet wide, so it's very, very small. And I think the juxtaposition against a church that we'll see on next week's video is just very interesting. I really enjoyed getting to see this one just mainly because of the local history and just seeing how the roots of a very simple space like this chapel can go very far back, and obviously will have ripples into the future as there are a lot of Catholic traditions and a lot of Catholic history that has extended into the present for the island of Aruba. So thank you so much for checking out today's video. Please stay tuned for next week's. It will be a sister video to this one. And until next time, keep looking up.